those of you that have been watching our Q&A regularly, I'm really grateful to you. I hope you keep watching. And for those of you that are just joining us, please feel free to send us your questions. Today, I'm going to talk about vacuum and electrical issues on Mercedes from the 1980s. I just got back from teaching a seminar, which really wasn't a huge seminar. It was just an hour plus helping some MBCA members with their cars in Potomac, Maryland for the Mercedes-Benz Club of America's Greater Washington Section Summer Picnic. For those of you who aren't MBCA members, I encourage you to join. It's a great group of people who really love these cars. Anyway, our first question came from Mr. Kevin Tesler. Kevin is the owner of two 1985 300 SDs that he effectively rescued from sudden death. One has 340,000 miles and the other has 380,000. One of Kevin's issues that he was experiencing involved his air conditioning system. When we charged the system, we noticed it wasn't getting as cold as possible. Kevin writes, "What is going on? Why don't I have the cold air that I need? And where is my Freon going?" Well, this is a two-part question. When we charged his AC system, we noticed very quickly that his auxiliary fan was not coming on. This is a great item to look at in the hot summer months when you're dealing with air conditioning issues, most of which are actually electrical in nature. And we checked the system and found that the fuse was good, which you should always check. The number 14 fuse was also good, which controls the relay for the auxiliary fan. And the auxiliary fan switch was a recent replacement. At the end of the day, after checking his car thoroughly, we just determined that he had not plugged the auxiliary fan back in properly and that all was well with the circuit. However, if you are using the air conditioning regularly on your Mercedes, you should check and make sure that on hot days when the AC is really cranking that the auxiliary fan is coming on. If this fan doesn't come on, it can lead to excessive AC system pressures, which can lead to compressor failures, tepid temperatures in the car, and of course overheating of the engine, which you don't want. One of the other great topics that we covered was the tachometer on these cars. As you know, the 1978 to 85 turbo diesels all had tachometers. From 1978 to 83, these tachometers were controlled by a pickup on the crankshaft position sensor. And of course, on 84 and 85 models, the tachometer pickup was at the flywheel bell housing. This continued from 1986 and up. If you have a malfunctioning tachometer in a 1978 to 83 turbo diesel, the most likely culprit is that the pickup is bad. This pickup starts at the crankshaft, follows a wiring harness, and then plugs into the tachometer amp on the inside of the front left fender. This wiring harness has a plug at the end that tends to go bad, and the sensor on the other end also tends to fail. If you're suffering from jumping tachometer or non-functioning tachometer, this wire should be the first part that you replace, and it will restore all your tachometer functions without the need of a costly amplifier or rebuilding of the tachometer itself. On 1984 to 85 cars, the tachometer is controlled by the overvoltage protection relay, which lives inside the dashboard. A tachometer that ceases to function is almost always linked to a bad overvoltage protection relay, and the overvoltage protection relay is a $60 part that simply plugs in to a small plug underneath the glove box on the far right side of the dash on 123 diesels and under the hood inside the fuse box on 126 turbo diesels. Our final question of the day came from Mr. Stephen Brooks, who has a 1984 300 TD wagon. Steve said, "After replacing my front left vacuum lock actuator, my vacuum locks worked for a short time and then they ceased to function again. What gives?" Well, the vacuum actuation system in all of the 123, 126, 116 Mercedes, essentially every Mercedes made after 1972, is a system that relies on vacuum solely to operate. If you have a 126 car or a late 107 car, a 124 car, a 201 car, you have an electric pressure generating pump in the back of the car that alternates between vacuum and pressure to move the door lock actuators up and down. But on the earlier cars, such as the 123 series, these locks are controlled with vacuum generated by the engine. This system is very sensitive, and if you develop one leak, the entire system can go down. After looking at Steve's car, we determined that one of the items which was not working at all was in the tailgate, and we determined that the tailgate actuator may be the problem. The best way to test these actuators is to go under the carpets of the car and look for the vacuum junctions, where you can actually apply vacuum to each actuator and see if it is leaking or not. After looking at Steven's car for a long time, I told him his best shot to keep the system working was to replace all of his vacuum actuators and to replace the door valve in the car. While the tailgate actuator is no longer available from Mercedes, you can buy a new door actuator, change the rubber boot at the top of the actuating rod from the new door actuator to the old tailgate actuator, and you will probably restore its function. Anyway, this concludes our series of questions for this week. I want to thank all of you for watching. Please like us. I would really appreciate that. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me at info@pierrehedary.com. Thank you so much and have a great time driving your Mercedes-Benz.